for example, I mentor civics. So I have a book called The 5,000-Year Leap.
Oh, that's an excellent book.
And I take them through the 5,000-Year Leap, the 28 principles. They memorize the principles. And during that time, then I tell them how that relates to what they're doing today. Mm-hmm. And that's always fun to do.
Yeah, that book is an excellent book, and I can see how it being broken down to the kids, what a great thing that would be. We have a break coming up really quickly. I want to see if you can answer this quick. If not, we'll take it on the other side of the break. But do you teach kids the human side of these great leaders as well? I mean, we're going to have to take this on the other side of the break because I do have a long question for you on that one. But anyway, we are up against a break right now. We welcome you to We the People Radio, NorCal Tea Party, right here on KTKZ 1380 with Dean Foreman of the John Adams Academy. We will be right back.
NorCal Tea Party Radio is sponsored by Del Rapini. Del has been involved with the Tea Party since April of 2009. A retired developer, Del has a passion to serve and restore his country to her fundamental principles. This is just one way that he has chosen to accomplish his goal. Each month we need sponsors to offset the cost of this program. For information on how you can become a sponsor, go to norcalteaparty.org.
Gather, kid, reunite, join the revolution. We are strong and standing tall, upholding the Constitution.
Welcome back to We the People Radio, KTKZ, NorCal Tea Party. We are here with Dean Foreman of the John Adams Academy, which is a charter school in Rockland. And Dean, I started to ask you a question about, do the kids learn the human side of these people, their weaknesses? Did they ever get afraid to do the things that they were doing? Do they learn that kind of stuff, or do they just think that they're some super action hero?
Well, first of all, we are located in Roseville.
Oh,
not
sorry.
Rockland, but that's okay. So more importantly, yes, you cannot learn about someone's greatness without learning about their weakness, because that is part of your special excellence. If you learn why you're special, then you know that no matter what happens in your life, what setbacks you have, you can overcome those. You know, there's numerous examples through the founding fathers and others of people that have done great things, and it was because they usually ran into a barrier, stopped, and then they went around it or went over it or fixed it in some fashion.
Good. I think that's important that we understand that our heroes are all just like us, but they, like you say, they have that element of excellence, and all of us have a different one. And I always like to think of that passage in the Bible, train up a child in the way he should go. And I believe that that means taking them by their bend, what they're interested in. We have grandkids, and some are interested in music, and some are athletes, and they're all good and gifted, but in different ways. Okay, let me ask you about this. You are a charter school. That's... I'm correct about that, right?
Yes.
So what differentiates a charter school from a public school and a private school?
A private school is one where you pay tuition to go. And a charter school is a public school in that we receive funding from the state through property taxes and other tax revenues, just like other public schools. But the difference is that charter schools, we pay for our own facility. So in Roseville, where we have this facility, we pay rent versus other public schools that have facilities provided for them. The other thing that you find about charter schools, the umbrella under this is called freedom education. In other words, it's not conveyor belt. Each charter school may have something they emphasize more than another thing. For example, science, math, etc. So as a charter school, we have the ability to choose our academics and where we want to go with this. So in our case, we chose restoration of our national heritage, values, and servant leadership and leadership education. So those are the things that we're trying to emphasize. If you go to another charter school, they may emphasize something completely different. But the idea is that it's America. So if you want this type of education, you can come to us. If you want employee education, you can go to one of the conveyor belt or government schools.
Do you have to live in a certain proximity to be able to come? How do you get to be a student of your academy?
You don't have to live in our area. We have students, for example, from Sacramento County that drive from as far away as Elk Grove, and I think even one from the Bay Area. We have students that are in Placer County up as high as Colfax that come down to Roseville. And so our population of over 600 students is made up of a pretty good diversity of both Placer and Sacramento County for the most part.
How do you select the students that come?
Charter schools, like other schools, have to take any students that want to come. But what we do is we want them to know what we are teaching and what we're about. And so we will sit down with the parents and the students and say, this is the type of education. We use the classics, we use mentors, we teach leadership. We also require that as parents you give 40 hours of service in our school to help us during the year. Are these things in agreement with what you want and expect? And if they are, then great. If they aren't, then this may not be the right fit for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how does the federal government or the state government fit into the charter school? Are the teachers from the union teachers, or do you get to pick your own teachers? How does that work?
That's one of the beauties, too. We do not have unions, and so it's a more responsive environment to the people, and that's who we're responsible to. So if we have teachers that are not performing, we can replace them pretty quickly. Whereas if you ever tried to replace a union teacher or a teacher that's been entrenched, many of you may have seen the movie Waiting for Superman,
right. Mm-hmm.
And you could see that it just engendered this environment of mediocrity, and people were wasting away their lives in these rooms waiting to have their cases heard. Whereas if we don't have someone performing, it's an at-will contract. We can release them at any time and let them go.
Are they accredited or credentialed teachers?
That's a good question. All of our teachers are credentialed, and as such, at the high school level and junior high level, they are accredited in their individual subjects as well. And so a lot of people say, well, at charter school, you don't have accredited teachers, so it's not quite as good. That's just the opposite. We do have accredited teachers and credentialed teachers. And in fact, what's so unique is that teachers were beating down the doors to come teach with us because they knew that they would be educational entrepreneurs in their classroom instead of having to be conveyor belt teachers and doing this rote approach to teaching instead of doing what their passion was, and that's teaching the way they wanted to teach.
My children went to private school as they were growing up. They're married and have children of their own now, but the teachers that were there taking half the salary that they made in the public sector, but they did not want to teach in the public school system because they couldn't teach. They had to communicate what had been told them to communicate. They couldn't truly teach the way they wanted to teach. So I'm sure your teachers feel that freedom and liberty as well. Oh, gee, freedom and liberty. Wow.
Novel ideas.
Yeah, isn't that something? Hey, what are some of the battles then that charter schools have to face from the government? Because you do get government funds, and I'm sure there are strings attached.
There are. And some of the battles that we have to deal with our academics. But the nice thing is that as it currently is, we have the freedom to pursue the academics we want. But the legislature is controlled by unions. And so they see that they have put this proverbial camel in the tent, and now the camel is almost all the way in, and they want to kick him back out of the tent. But the problem is that people have seen how charters are elevating the outcomes and what's happening in education, and so they're fighting that. But the legislature would like to make us teach the same things that the other schools are teaching. Right now, that's not happening, but that is an ongoing battle in the legislature. What they allowed charters to come in, but now they want to put us in the same category as the other schools. And so piece by piece, they're starting to dismantle charters limb by limb to try to put us in that same straitjacket of what I would call government or conveyor belt education.
I'm stunned. I can't believe the government would try to do that. Now, because the government and the state legislator is so controlled by unions and is so controlled by liberals who want to brainwash our children, don't want them to know true American history, what can we as individual citizens do to help you with the charter schools and private schools that I'm sure are having the same problem with them trying to have that heavy arm of government reach into them?
Well, the founders taught something called private virtue, as I've mentioned earlier, where you set aside personal benefit for the benefit of others. If this sort of education resonates for you, which I believe it will to your audience, we invite you to come to our school, take a visit of our school, and more importantly, volunteer to come out and mentor and teach a classic and how it relates to today. And then I would say you could always donate, which we do have a nonprofit, and you could donate. So come out and see us, donate and mentor. And as you do that, I think it will stir some passions in you that will just enhance your ability to enjoy what's happening with our youth.
Well, I appreciate you coming with us today, Dean. This time went by so fast, as it always does. I appreciate your information. For those of you, go to johnadamsacademy.org. .com. And if you want to know when the next NorCal meeting is, go to norcalteaparty.org. Next week, we have Mark Montgomery here from Small Biz Talk Radio right here on KTKZ 1380 Radio. Thank you. Have a great day.
Gather, kid, reunite, join the revolution. We are strong and standing tall, upholding the Constitution.
How to get involved? Individuals who want to become part of the NorCal Tea Party Patriots by attending meetings, events, or receiving action alerts, go to our website at norcalteapartypatriots.org. By signing in as a member, you'll receive our newsletter and action alerts. So get involved. NorcalTeaPartyPatriots.org.